So here is my pitch, my title, which I have decided is going to be WAHF, meaning Wild at Heart Foundation Dog Training. And then there is my name and a short synopsis of what I will be doing. And it says, I will be educating and informing my target audience by creating training videos and a short promotion for Wild at Heart Foundation at the beginning of each video. The average time for each will be 1 minute 30 and will range from behaviour strategies to tricks. I have planned out everything that I will be doing and when throughout the whole course. Obviously this is updated, so I've added a lot more to it, and you can see that I talk about every day. I discuss what I have done in a short bullet point, so I choose my main thing that I've done in the day as a header, and then I discuss throughout the day what I've done. And I found the schedule very helpful. It's just really easy. It makes me able to plan out stuff, and it helps me with my reflective journal when I'm trying to catch up. So if we zoom out now, next slide, going on similar products now. Here is one of my similar products, which is the Dog Whisperer, a very known TV show. I talk about how the Dog Whisperer, when it started, when it finished, and I talk about the way they filmed. So in each of the similar products, I talk about how they filmed, how they've used different camera angles, and what kind of training they do. So is it positive training, negative training? Do they use e-collars? Do they just use treats and toys to get the dog motivated? And so I also talk about the style of it, whether they go into in-depth problems that dogs can face or it's just tricks. And with the Dog Whisperer, I say that yes, they do go into more in-depth problems. If you've watched it, you'll know that he deals with very aggressive dogs, which is his main problem, and dogs that are just too difficult to train, which he takes on. And so I talked about how I like the Dog Whisperer because he sort of helps you understand your dog's deeper problems, which is something I want to do in my training videos. So my next similar product is Howcast. Howcast do a lot of type of videos, so they're not based just around dog training videos, whereas the Dog Whisperer just focuses on dog training. So Howcast created a series of dog training videos that were quite short, whereas dog training videos with the Dog Whisperer are quite long, and I say this in the paragraph where I talk about it. So with this, I talk about how the style is very like clean cut, whereas with the Dog Whisperer, sort of someone's holding a camera and following you around, so the clips are very sometimes shaky and move too quick, whereas this is like professionally done. I also talk about how they don't really go in depth with problems. It's just basic training: sit, stay, look, come, just basic tricks that a person will want to know. And then another similar product I talk about is Dogs Trust, and this was actually recommended to me by one of my contributors, and it has come out recently. This is probably one of my favourites out of all the similar products, just because it's so clean cut, it transitions nicely, there's a lot of cutaways, so you know, you're not just staring at one person the whole time, someone's not staring in camera speaking to you, which can become very boring. So I think that's very good, and it just engages the person. There's nice shot close-ups of the dogs, which I think is very nice, and good lighting, all natural lighting, very good, which I personally like. And I also said how this is different to the other two because it's a step-by-step process. So you see how long it's going to take. They give you a time frame of how long it's going to take, what steps you can take, and tips, which I think is very helpful, because if someone doesn't give a time frame, then people may think the more harder tricks, not tricks, but the more harder behavioural problems may take like the same time to get sorted as a sit command would, which is untrue. Next is one of my character profiles that I created. This I all based off of the Wild at Heart's following. This is a lot of people who follow Wild at Heart, so had family dogs in the past, live in a semi-rural area, just because a lot of the dogs that come from Wild at Heart, the strays, a lot of them need to live in semi-rural areas because in a busy area they can't handle it as much. Next, I talk about my target audience. Here I talk about how my target audience is primarily people from who follow Wild at Heart Foundation, and that they are Generation X, and I feel like I should focus on them more, just because of the fact that they're older, they've got their life sorted out a bit more, and they're able to have the time to take care of a dog. Whereas obviously, someone from Generation She could have a dog, but then it would probably be their parents taking care of the dog. So I think it's better to focus on Generation X, because they're mostly likely to be new dog owners. I'd also talk about my secondary target audience would just be anyone who doesn't follow the charity, who's maybe a first time dog owner, needs to learn new tricks, and needs to learn new tricks, and if their dog has a sort of difficult behaviour, it may help them, because especially a lot of people may not be able to afford a dog trainer. So if there's a series that is free to them to access and it's informative, then why shouldn't they use it? I talk about Channel 4 target audience. So I looked into Channel 4 target audience, and I talk about how training video the target audience for training videos on Channel 4 range from 20 to 34 in age. As I said, they're probably more likely to be financially stable and able to take care of a dog. I also talk about how Channel 4 is a big platform for dog training videos. So if I was looking to have my series on a channel, it would be Channel 4.
No, I haven't.
No, I haven't until recently, where you've been talking about it.
Yes, I do. I have a little Jack Russell Cross.
No. Yes.
Yeah, I've already trained him with a trainer, but like on the side just to like improve his skills. But yeah, sure, sounds cool.
Yes and no. I mean, with my dog, he's pretty well trained. He just needs to learn some more stuff, but he understands basic commands.
You know what? If I were to watch one, it may inspire me to get a dog, because you know what? Dogs are probably not that bad. I'm not saying I think dogs are bad. I think they're very cute and they have their place, but I've never had one. And a dog training video would be good for someone like me who doesn't have a dog, and it may interest me into getting a dog, and then I would know how to look after it.
So I'm going to skip on now to my focus group. I talk about further down in this pitch, I talk about why I use some of these questions, so you'll see that later on. So now we will find my focus group. So here is the beginning of my focus group.
You are a trainer to train your dog.
Yourself.
Why?
You would generate a relationship with your dog. In theory, yourself, because then you can build a relationship with the doggo.
So here I'm asking just sort of, who do you think would be better to train your dog, a trainer or yourself? And I ask this just because I feel like it's better, in my opinion, to have a bond with your dog, but also there's sometimes where you yourself can't train the dog, as they have maybe a very difficult behavioural problem, so a trainer would be better to use. Let's go on to another question now.
Yes.
And how many YouTube videos?
I feel like anyone can learn how to train their dog depending on how in like with it. And you have to really well.
Yes, if it is clearly
Videos would work out. Do you think that training videos would benefit a first-time dog owner?
yes, if it is clearly explained, easy to do, and not annoying and
Outraging, like bend the fingers. You need to learn that when you're training a dog. You need to become patient.
no, as in like the video.
Oh, as long as
The video teaches you patience and it doesn't annoy you.
I say it can be beneficial. Sorry. I say it can be beneficial for any dog owner. Say if they just need to refresh on their skills, or if they've had a dog before and they didn't really know how to train properly, if they further educate themselves, be able to take care of their dog better.
The reason I asked this question is just because I feel like my secondary target audience would probably be first-time dog owners, because a lot of first-time dog owners are looking online rather than finding dog trainers to just find out any basic commands. So now we go on to my primary research questionnaire. Here you can see the questions I ask. I'll just let you look at it. So I asked altogether 6 questions, just because I didn't want to make the questionnaire too long, so that people didn't get bored of it or not answer the questions, which ended up happening anyway. I didn't get many responses from people, even though I sent it out to quite a few people, so that ended up being a problem when it come to evaluating my primary research questionnaire. Now here I talk about my primary research questionnaire and why I chose some of the questions I asked. I asked did people have a dog, just because I wanted to know, out of the people I was sending it to, who had a dog. I thought it's best if I was just asking people who had dogs, but then again, like I didn't fix that. So I thought that question was a bit unnecessary, as was the question of, if no, please only answer this question and skip the rest. Would you still be interested in watching dog videos? Next I talk about my secondary research and how I looked at pet forums. I used a lot of resources given to me by Nadine, the co-founder of the charity, and I looked at training websites, so what people were looking for. I wanted to use it for my own benefit. What people on the internet are looking for, what type of training videos, so what problems they have with their dogs. A lot of people had recall problems and just general behavioural problems, so I think that it's good to focus on that in my training videos. Next up is my 2 mood boards. I created one mood board on just the charity itself and what they're about, what they sell, what they do, the events they have. And then the next one is about training in general, so just dog training, but I wanted to make it positive dog training because there are a lot of types of dog training. So next is the one just about Wild at Heart Foundation, the stuff they sell, the people who work for them. As you can see here is Nadine and Nikki, the co-founders of the actual charity, and you can see them at events, so on Good Morning Britain, and the stuff that they support, so neutering dogs. Here is a picture from their Instagram website where they talk about no dog meat, so Chinese dog meat festival, and then there is a YouTuber who they paired up with so that they could, reach different platforms. So next I talk about my mood boards in general. So I talk about how I chose to do 2 different mood boards, one on dog training and one on Wild at Heart, just so I could get a clear picture of both of them and work out how I can incorporate them together. And also I want to have a clear perception of the charity so that I can actually put that out to other people rather than giving misinformation. Additionally to that, with the training, as I said before, with the training mood board, I focus mainly on positive training, as that's what Wild at Heart Charity is all about. So next I just talk about the equipment I will be using, and this includes a tripod, video camera, stabilizer, because I want to get some shots on the floor of the dogs, maybe running around, so it's just good for moving close-ups. SD card, of course, for the camera, and a boom microphone, just so I can get good sound. Okay, so lastly, here is just research on the location, how to get there from the area I live in, where it is, and the address. So that is my pitch.